And we're live. I'm Maddy.
I'm Ryan, and welcome to our very short show that's now going to be like 20 minutes.
Oh my gosh. Ryan had to restart his computer 600 times.
I literally don't know what happened because, well, I think it was a problem with Google Hangouts specifically, and they probably did an update, and then I had to restart the computer because it wasn't registering. I don't know. Fuck it. I fucking hate Google. You hear me, Google?
We both do, and Google's terrible. That's my lesson of the day.
That is the lesson, and I'm very angry because Maddie's like, maybe you have a virus, and I'm like, how the hell would I get?
Because I couldn't figure. Look, let's just do the show.
All right, fine.
We're doing the show. Is there anything you want to tell me about your life? Oh, well, let's here. We can talk about this. Yesterday, we uploaded a video to Atomic Blue of you and me reading.
That's true. We did. Okay, so we did a throwback theater
years ago because my hair was very long in that video.
Well, also we referenced going to the beach, and it's winter now.
I know. So we made this video before we were done filming Gino. We made this video together.
Yeah. Basically, we were like, I had this idea that we would go back and reread a story that Maddy wrote when she was like 12
to 13. I don't know when I wrote this, actually. So somewhere around there. So Ryan and I met when I was around that age. Well, when I was 12, and you had already come up with Gino, which we've filmed now. We as adults have made a sci-fi show called Gino that you can watch on Atomic Blue Productions. But we've been writing it since we were kids, and so this is one of the first stories that we wrote, or that I wrote, and I don't know. Anyway, that's it. That's what it is.
And it's an embarrassing story in which Maddy wrote these characters who are essentially flirting with each other in tiny bathing suits.
I was a really horny middle schooler, which who wasn't? Whatever. That's
true.
Normal.
So you guys should watch it. If you watch Demon and D2, it's in lieu of that, where we're just sort of like reacting.
But first you should watch Gino because it's going to make no sense.
I don't know. It's not going to make sense if you watch Gino or not. Some have like magic powers that are completely unexplained. So
at least you would know who the characters are. Like Tracer and Kit and Ava and Vicky and Poochie are all, it's the same characters. Commander Shay is there. It's all the same characters. So I don't know. You might enjoy it. I don't know. Anyway, so that's something we did.
Yeah.
Also, you got to see Mary Ellen and I didn't.
Well, you're working on her with that podcast now, so you get to see her whenever the fuck you want.
Yeah, we just recorded an episode last night, but she visited you last weekend, which was pretty sweet. And I watched all those videos of you two, which are not public, so I don't know why I mentioned it. Private videos. Videos no one but me can see.
That's true.
Very private videos.
Oh my god. I'm so distracted right now because I'm like opening up the Google Doc right now. But yeah, I did see Mary Ellen and we ate ice cream 2 nights in a row. Like we pretty much didn't eat anything else, so that's pretty gross. But you know.
Well, it's a classic Ryan and Mary Ellen thing to go to Friendly's. It's like your thing.
Okay, so meanwhile, I'm so disheveled right now. My fucking oatmeal's on my floor. Hold on.
Oh my god, Ryan.
I was having so many technical issues. I'm so mad.
Sorry.
I'll get over it. Okay, so I am gonna say that the past couple of days I've been getting up at like 7 in the morning because I'm trying to like not really enforce the schedule on myself, but allow myself to not be rushing through everything.
How's that going for you today?
Well, it was going well up until the point where everything broke. So, I mean, it doesn't matter that I had all this time to get shit ready this morning. It's still gonna break anyway because Google is like so good at being a service that people can use. It's like Twitter where they just don't fucking care.
Oh my god, that's a pretty funny motto for Google to have. It's like Twitter, but we just don't fucking care.
I mean,
the irony is that Twitter also doesn't care. Anyway. Do you want to talk about seeing Mary Ellen, or do we want to skip ahead?
No, we're going to skip that. We're also going to skip workout tips today, guys.
Because I don't have any.
I was going to prepare one, and then I lost that time trying to restart my computer for 35 minutes. So,
cool.
So we're going to actually talk about what people want to hear about. But just so you know, if anybody's listening, I don't know if anybody is at this point. They probably checked it and were like, fuck this place.
No, we have a couple viewers. Hey.
Yeah. Okay, so basically, for reader mail, you can always email us at insomniacsinthemorning@gmail.com, or you can.
And we have a couple emails that I'm going to read in a bit, but
we do. And also, if you're interested in telling us about your favorite anime when you were a teenager.
That's the question prompt this week.
Yeah, versus what you like now in
anything.
terms of anime. Send that on over. So,
but yeah, let us know what animes you like, and if you didn't have a favorite anime as a kid, that's fine. You can just tell us what you like now, and if you had one that you only saw as a kid, that's also fine. Let us know.
And we also, and just so you know, yes, we did start late today. To the person that's asking in our chat right now,
we sure did,
because mostly of Google Hangouts, and then my computer restarted for like 35 minutes, so that's cool. And they also want us to talk about X-Men, which I can talk about as much as you would like.
Okay, well,
you know what? We'll get there because Inhumans is on the list, and I'm gonna bitch about it.
It is? Okay.
So let's just start there, actually, since it came up. But so the Marvel Cinematic Universe has announced that they're going to do an Inhumans TV show in addition to the Inhumans movie they're making, which is stupid as fuck.
They are upselling us all on Inhumans,
which
everybody
knows if this will actually happen or not, because Marvel also said we were going to get a show about Mockingbird, and that just didn't fucking happen. So there's a good chance that this may not happen, but they're pitching this idea that they're going to be doing an Inhumans TV show featuring Medusa, who has gained a lot of popularity in the comic books recently, and doing a show about that. And it's just like, I don't care. It's not. I just the reason
don't you care?
Because
this is a situation where you and I are obsessed with X-Men, and this is an X-Men property that we both apparently don't care about. Why is that?
Well, it's not an X-Men property. That's the thing. They're using it as essentially to fill in the X-Men and the Marvel Cinematic Universe because Fox does not want to release those rights, or they're still negotiating it, which is fucking crazy to me, because at this point, like, Sony's negotiated Spider-Man, and Fox should be looking at that and being look how much share of money I'm getting right now from the Spider-Man franchise. And like, that's what they should be seeing, like, because like that's what Sony is doing. They sold it back and they get like a share or a portion or whatever. And like Fox could do that with the X-Men and make so much money, but instead they're just being Fox about it.
Yeah,
and
I don't know why
they keep on sort of like keeping it open-ended in the Marvel Cinematic Universe that there could be mutants, so they just say people, like powered people, and then there's also the Inhumans,
people like you,
right? And so but this isn't even like so like they still could add mutants into the Marvel Cinematic Universe if they gain the rights back to it. Like, they've left that open-ended for them. But the problem here is now that since they keep on like pushing forward with this Inhumans theme for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is now very much influencing what they're going to write in the actual Marvel canon comic books, which has changed things. And so there's like been this whole storyline with the Inhumans and the Terrigen Mist and them like killing the mutants in the Marvel universe. And so the longer this goes on for, the more of a chance we have at losing the X-Men as a franchise entirely, which is terrifying to me, because the Inhumans really is not that interesting and does not fill that like necessary gap that the X-Men has, which is like the X-Men is like for people like us that are the minority, or like, you know, grew up like not being a normal kid.
Is very specifically,
and that is not the vibe you're getting from the Inhumans. They're trying to push that vibe, but it just doesn't work, because they're like, well, now they're just aliens. And I'm like, no, the whole point of the X-Men is that they were still human, but they were different. And so it's just it pisses me off, because I'm an X-Men fan, obviously, but also because like, it's because
of rights. I mean, it's not even for narrative reasons.
Exactly.
It's not like this is happening because, you know, creators of the fiction are like, this is what we really want to focus on. It's happening because of a weird cinematic rights issue that is affecting every aspect of Marvel canon in a weird way.
Exactly. And right now, I'm very passionate about this subject, considering what has been going on in terms of politics within America and the world, honestly, because things are really bad. And like,
does anyone know the X-Men?
Exactly. So like, as soon as like, you know, Donald Trump was elected, for instance, I just sat down and read X-Men for days.
Yeah,
and like,
you sent me a lot of X-Men. And
I did, and I'm like, I'm reading through Grant Morrison's new X-Men again, and how that is based. I feel like we're living in that world. Like, I'm not going to get into politics right now, because that is not what this show is about. But I definitely.
No, this show is strictly about X-Men, which is not a political content at all.
I mean, it pretty much is. But like, I mean, like, there's things happening right now that literally happened in the first X-Men movie, and I'm like,
yeah, I mean, a lot of those things in the comics were political at the time and were references to the civil rights movement and to internment camps. Like those are historical realities in America.
And so like
that's what those were references to. Those histories happened. I mean, obviously they happened outside of X-Men. They aren't fictional. But X-Men was written about those things.
Exactly. So. And like right now, I just feel like we're in a place where we really need that again. And we're just sort of like, it's not happening. It's displaced. Instead, we're getting like a shoe-in series or like that's affecting their entire like production line of everything for Marvel. So anyway, I don't want to get too long on this because I've already wasted a lot of time complaining about this, but I think
it's okay.
This is a bigger problem for the Marvel company as a whole. And like, you know, like I have no words. Like I just need the X-Men, and instead I'm getting some shitty Inhumans TV show.
I'm really sorry, man. You know, maybe the Inhumans TV show won't happen. Maybe something else will happen.
Maybe. I don't know. You're right. So but that's really like the background on it. So in terms of other weird things that are coming out, there's the Ghost in the Shell trailer, which
I actually didn't bother watching this. Sorry. Did you see it?
What? It's 2 minutes. What do you mean?
I didn't bother.
Maddie's like, I just didn't have time. I had to rewatch the Tear story.
I had time. I was like, all right.
Okay. Well, I will talk about it a little bit.
Okay.
I'm still going to...
Is it good? Because all I saw was people complaining about it.
See, here's the thing is that I can look at it from a cinematic perspective. Okay. And also, I'm a huge Ghost in the Shell fan at this point. So, you know, like, I don't hate this. There's definitely things wrong with it, but I don't hate it. Visually, it's stunning. And like whoever's directing it they understand a lot of like what that world is like. And
they've seen it a whole bunch of times. They've read the manga.
Probably. And so I mean, like, it's visually very stunning. And like, you know, the way that they've brought that to life on the live action screen looks really great. And I think that's really cool. ScarJo, I mean, I know that she's not Asian, but like technically Motoko isn't. So even though like she has that name, she like has all these weird cybernetic bodies. So I'm cool with that. I love Scarlett Johansson, so I can't complain about that. And it has like a cool Depeche Mode cover going on in the background.
Yeah, so you're like the only person I know who's into it.
No. But here's the thing. So like with all those things lined up, you would think that it'd be really like interesting and good, especially for somebody like me who likes all those things. But like, there's definitely like some serious issues going on because like.
Really? I was not expecting this turn.
And this is like I was talking to Ben about it earlier, but he was like, "No, you don't understand." I'm like, okay, so it's one thing for like them to have like a white cast of this Japanese show, and like I was willing to accept that on the basis that they're technically all androids anyway, so like they are, and it's not even technically in Japan.
Yeah, they're changing.
But however, what is happening is that the entire main cast is white, and then every background character is like not.
Yeah.
Which then immediately becomes fucked up. So that's what's weird about it.
Cool. Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, like, I'll still see it. I mean, I think it looks interesting. And it looks like they just recreated the Ghost in the Shell movie, like shot for shot.
Oh Lord, I don't know if that's a good idea, though.
I don't know where this is going.
I feel sorry for them at this point because I'm like, somebody should have pulled the plug on this project like 2 years ago, and like somehow this continued. I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know the direction of it all, but I mean,
talking about Aeon Flux the other day.
That was the first thing that came to mind when I watched this.
You know what's funny about that? Like the way that criticism has changed so much in the past few years, in a good way, in my opinion. In like the fact that people look at anime adaptations now and they're like, let's really think about how to have a Japanese perspective on this work. Like let's think about that. Like now we have critics who are actually saying that. But when Aeon Flux came out, no one said that. Like it was like 10 years ago, right? It was over years.
Yeah, but this is a token of like
when Aeon Flux came out saying
like 2000, you know.
Cast a bunch of white people in Aeon Flux. People were just saying, "What's Aeon Flux?" You know what I mean? Like that was the extent of the conversation. Then they were like, "What's anime? What's this? What is this?" Like literally no one knew what it was. You know what I mean? Like a lot has changed. Like,
exactly.
again, in a good way, like people are aware of the fact that anime exists, first of all, in a way that they weren't necessarily 10 years ago even. I mean, like, we feel like it has always been there because we're nerds, but
Right.
like, you know, my mom didn't know what it was. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
it's
no,
not,
like my mom didn't really understand what it was at first, but she eventually was like, "Oh, okay, well, this is the kind of weird shit that Ryan's into."
Ryan,
But at first, for a long time, like this was the impression that people had. They were like, "Oh, anime, isn't that weird like porn,
yes.
that
Yeah,
animated
isn't it
porn
porn?
that's like really fucked up?" Which there is that, but
Yeah,
that's
that's
not what it
correct.
is.
All porn. It's 100% porn, just to the gills porn.
I mean,
No, really,
technically,
it's
like
not. I
everything's
mean, it's just
porn,
like,
right? Soap
what
opera's
if
porn.
you watch animation that's from another country? Like, now that we have the internet, it's 1,000 times easier to do that than it was even when we were kids. It was so much harder to get anime
Oh
back
yeah.
then.
Well,
Now
they're
the internet
streaming
exists.
now, so
We're really spoiled for choice when it comes to watching stuff from other countries, and that's really cool. But it means that then we have to navigate the process of, okay, how would we adapt this, because it's from another culture, it's from a completely different part of the world. Like, it is different, and like, how do we respect that difference? And that is a conversation that just frankly wasn't happening before, and it's a hard conversation. But
right.
I think it's cool that it's happening. And like, obviously anime adaptations have happened in the past, they weren't very successful, but like, I think that when they were making Ghost in the Shell, they probably didn't think that would be a question. They were just like, yeah, we'll just, you know, put some famous American actors in it who are probably going to be white people, because that's who's famous in America usually.
Right, exactly.
All of America, but just because that, you know, we're racist here. So that's what we're into. So we're just going to put a bunch of white people in the movie. Like, they didn't think that it would matter, you know?
If you like pop into the chat here too, there's a lot of people who are also agreeing with us on what we're saying here, where it's like, it's like, I think
they cast Scarlett Johansson before they cast all the Asian background actors.
probably
People are talking about in the chat. I think they didn't think that this would be the response, which one might say is naive, but like 10 years ago, this wouldn't have been the critical response, which is a problem. But do you know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm with you.
The conversation has changed. It's just like, filmmakers need to get with it. I mean, same.
I don't know. Well, exactly. I think it's what I said before, where it was like, it's not that the movie itself was going to be terrible. It's just like the way that they ended up casting everything is really weird.
It is really weird.
And it looks good. Like, it looks, the cinematography is beautiful. It's just like, it's just kind of fucked up at the same time. Like, you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, what if it turns out to be really good? Then it's going to be an awkward conversation. I mean, that's kind of what happened with Doctor Strange, I think, is that like people criticized it a lot, but then now it's getting
but Doctor,
like 99% on everything.
More people saw Doctor Strange than they're going to see Ghost in the Shell, because the people that are going to see Ghost in the Shell are people that are like us and know what it is already. Like, the reason why Doctor Strange did better is because people's like, it's another Marvel movie, you know?
Mean, potentially, yeah. I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens when it comes out.
That's true.
I feel like people were not that excited for Doctor Strange. That was what my perception was.
I mean, you're right about that, but it still had a bigger turnout because people understood it was part of the greater Avengers.
Right. It has the benefit of being part of an existing franchise, which Ghost in the Shell doesn't. I don't know. You're right. I don't fucking know what I'm talking about. Anyway, let's talk about something else. We've gone on about this for 10 minutes.
That's true. We can do a little shout out to Kate McKinnon on Saturday Night Live.
Who we're obsessed with.
She was playing Hillary Clinton during all the elections, and then after the elections happened, she did a cold open on SNL where she
sang Leonard Cohen.
Yep.
Who passed away last week, and I've been listening to a bunch of Leonard Cohen music.
Yep, and so she's saying that, played it on the piano by herself as Hillary, and then at the end said, "Don't stop fighting." And it was really great. I mean, like, it's part of like politics and how at the time I definitely like cried a little watching it, but also I would do that if it was just Kate McKinnon anyway. Like,
yeah, I was like, if it's just Kate McKinnon playing Leonard Cohen,
I just think she's incredibly talented. So, but I definitely recommend watching it because, like,
I would recommend that. I would also recommend looking up this video of Kate McKinnon talking about her cat that Ryan found that I watched yesterday. I mean, honestly, we're just doing whatever it takes to keep our heads
get through, and that's why we are doing our show and why we're making a lot of art right now. I don't know if you guys have been noticing, but I've been like super spamming on, not spamming, but I've been posting lots of stuff on social media of stuff we're working on. So
yeah, we're really putting our nose to the grindstone.
You got to make art, not war, you know?
If only, man.
All right, let's see. Before I get into Gravity Falls, I just wanted to do a shout out to GASM Media, who I talked about on the show before. They're the ones that did that like weird followers show that was like a horror type of. Yeah, okay. So they released another series called Dice Wars, which is more on the geekier side, and it's about essentially these guys that are playing D&D together, and they are actually granted magical powers that they're also terrible people, so they just like walk around the world with these terrible powers and like do terrible things essentially. And it's very funny, and it's again has very high production value, and it's like watching an actual TV show. I definitely recommend these guys. I enjoyed watching it. I wish I could give them more time and space to talk about it but we're running so late today. But essentially I could be pronouncing it wrong, but it's GASM Media on YouTube. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. And like, they have other stuff on their channel too. Like they've done like some short horror films. They, originally I watched it because they did like another geeky series, which was sort of, about like a League of Legends, like parody where they were all competing against each other. And since then, their quality has gone way up. Like I'm a little jealous with how they figured it out so fast, because you and I are still trying to figure that out. And like we just released the first episode of Gino, which
they might have more money than we do.
Maybe, but they may have better equipment. They may just like have the resources that we don't have. You know what? I just realized. I don't know. I think you have to unclick Insomniacs because I don't know if I'm showing up when I talk.
I mean, I can see you in the window, but
people are probably listening to this and be like, it's just the Maddy show today.
People in the chat can let us know if that's the case.
Yeah, in chat, let us know if it's only been Maddy this whole time.
I don't think so. I can see you when I hover over the thing.
Well, yeah, but
I accidentally clicked something. I don't think so.
I don't know.
Guys,
well,
tell us.
Who knows? But anyway, so I definitely recommend checking these guys out because like this new show is really good, and I like. Oh, okay. They say we're showing up. Thank you guys. And I would absolutely love to like work with them someday because they're producing good stuff.
You're a huge fanboy for them. I get it.
No, it's not even that. It's just like it's sort of like I'm looking at them and I'm comparing them to like what we do, where they have their like cast of friends like that. They work with people they know over and over again, and like.
I know. And they like you. They've tweeted at us before.
That's true.
We're internet besties with them.
Oh yeah, of course.
Actually know them at all. Anyway,
I just appreciate good production value, and so that's where I'm getting at. So the other thing I wanted to talk about, and I think that's pretty much where we're gonna stop at pop culture news because we will really want to talk about this other stuff, is that I finished Gravity Falls, which I had no idea was self-contained to 2 seasons. Like it purposely ends at the end of the second season. I thought there were more seasons than that, or that they were making more, and they are not.
That's it. I didn't know that either. I thought it was like an ongoing show, but
that's what I thought too. But it is not. It's actually completely different because, like, it's 2 seasons that's like telling an overarching story, and like. The last 4 episodes is like essentially a mini movie. Like the last episode is 40 minutes, and then there's 3 episodes before that connects it all together. It was like I definitely like got all misty eyed watching it, and I don't want to give it away because I know that's like on your to-do list of things to watch.
Yeah, along with like
I just want to say that I really recommend it because it touches your soul on a lot of different levels, because like it's about a brother and a sister essentially who are best friends and are growing up together, and they're on summer vacation in this place where they think it's going to be terrible, but then it turns out to be like the best experience of their lives, and like they have like all this like family drama going on. So it's like you sort of I connected with it on being like, this is me and my sister, this is me and my best friend. This is also a story about growing up and like, not being able to be a kid forever. And it's about like the relationships you have with people. And like, it's really good. It's really good. And it ends in a way where everybody's character arc wraps up, which you don't usually get in a series, especially a cartoon, because it will get canceled before then. And in this case, they had only planned to do 2 seasons. So they wrapped it up. Like
that's
so
kind of
like
neat. I like it when a show just knows from the start that they have a specific story they're going to tell,
Right.
and
And
tell it specifically.
and I think another thing that I love about it is that it loves its characters like the way that you and I love Gino characters, where they're like, here's all these characters in this show, and we know everything about them, and like we care a lot about what these characters are doing. It's also got some of the most beautiful animation and writing I've seen in a long time, because it like starts off with like very goofy animation, but it does that Steven Universe thing where it just takes a dark turn usually.
Yeah, a lot of people have compared it to Steven Universe. I haven't seen it, but I know that's kind of like the shows that everybody's into. So
yeah.
I did watch Steven Universe. I mean, I've seen all of that. Don't worry, everyone. I'm not a complete monster.
So yeah, I know you're making your way through Clone Wars right now.
I am.
When that's done, I definitely recommend you to go to Gravity Falls next, because I want to talk more extensively about it with you. But I had a lot of feelings, and like,
all right.
I like it when animation does that to me.
All right, cool. So do you want to do the throwback next, or do you want to do reader mail? What do we want to do?
Let's do the throwback, because this is very important to you. So last week we did a throwback that we both enjoyed a lot, which was a Goofy movie, but it was definitely more of a Ryan throwback than it was a Maddy throwback, because I'm obsessed with that movie.
This is a Maddy throwback because I actually watched this movie when I was a kid, but you did not. I watched this movie when I was in middle school, probably around the same time that I wrote that Gino story.
You know what's funny though is that I had the same reaction to it that I probably would have had back then.
Well, there's no way to know for sure.
That's true.
So this movie is called But I'm a Cheerleader, and it's from the 90s, and it's so 90s, and it
really is. The hair is very 90s.
I know. And it's about a girl who's a cheerleader at high school, and she is a lesbian. And
this is also one of those movies that's hailed, especially within our generation, as like a classic movie within the gay community.
It is. And what's weird is that at the time it didn't get super good reviews, but over time it has become one of the movies that is considered one of the greatest movies about the queer experience ever. Like it's just considered to be that. And I don't know that it's 100% accurate. I mean, we can obviously get into that, but I was expecting to watch it and be like, this doesn't hold up. Like, this offends me in some way. Like, this isn't accurate in its portrayal of gender. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I was like, this movie was made like 20 years ago. It's not going to be right. But I watched it and I was shocked by the fact that overall it's pretty similar to where we are at.
I think that I have a lot of comments on it, but why don't you explain the plot first?
I will. Okay. So the main character is a lesbian, but she doesn't really know it. She just checks out girls a lot at school and has, pictures of girls in her locker and stuff, and is like, I just thought everybody felt this way. It's a pretty typical experience. And her parents are very conservative Christian, and they've noticed that she's not as interested in boys as she quote unquote should be. And so they send her to a gay conversion camp that tries to tell her that she's straight. And these are real camps that exist. And in the movie, it's presented in a funny way that's sort of making fun of an experience that is horrifying and is alienating and terrifying, but sort of approaches it in a way that lets you laugh at the absurdity of trying to do that.
Right.
And that's an extremely difficult line to walk, like to have something that's a comedy about
something that's really sort of terrifying.
Yeah. And also like there's a part maybe 75% of the way through the movie where her parents come to visit her. I mean, this is like the third act reveal moment where
I'm also going to state that this movie is very short. It's very short. So like the third act is like 45 minutes in.
Like there's places you can just watch it for free online if you Google it. It's very easily available to you. So her parents show up to the camp a couple times, and like I think the second time they come, they're like, if you decide that you want to be a lesbian because they think it's a choice, then you can't come home after this. Basically, you're just not going to be our daughter anymore. And like that idea is like to say that to like essentially a child, it's horrifying. And like even within the movie, I think that's like the scariest moment, even though it's still a comedy. That scene, the scene where I was like, this movie is like approaching something very real
But
And it's
that's what
still,
I said when I was watching it, and I messaged you very specifically after I watched it, and I was like, when it was like the 90s, when we were like 12 and 13,
yeah.
when we were like literally teenagers and we were figuring shit out, and even in the early 2000s, and this is something I've talked about on the show, as like it was very different back then because now people are like springing out of the closet everywhere, despite things being sort of horrible right now.
Well, yeah, but
But
also like that might change again in the future.
you're
You know
right.
what I
But
mean?
the thing that was weird about it to me was I was like, I remember this being a real problem, and it wasn't like this wasn't a threat for you and me because our
'Cause we
parents
live
are
in
very liberal.
Massachusetts.
Yeah, but like my parent, both of our parents they're very cool with a lot of the weird decisions we've made over our lives.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a reality for me, but I remember that being a scary reality for so many people. To the point that it did have an impact on coming out for me, at least, because like even though I wasn't in threat of losing my home, there was that threat. There was all these other people that weren't coming out because that was like a legitimate concern, is that they would be kicked out of their home for being gay. Like, and
Yeah.
there was so many like headliner stories about that. There still are now, but like like
I mean, I think
that was like
things
the only
have
time you would hear
changed
about it
in
back
a
then. It's
good
not like now
way,
where you like
but
go on Twitter and somebody says I'm gay now, and everyone's like, whoa, it's like like the only time we ever heard about people being gay is when they were being like ostracized for
shamed.
doing it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And that's changed. And like ideally that would continue to change. But unfortunately, these types of conversion camps still exist.
yeah,
And that was part of why I watched it, was because Mike Pence is going to be our vice president, and he's advocated for these conversion camps. That's like his thing because he's an idiot. So I, I was thinking about that, and I was really fucking mad. And it was like, I think the day after the election, and I was like, what can I watch that will make me feel anything? And I just randomly was like, what if I rewatched that movie that I remember watching as a kid and like enjoying, that like spoke to me on some level? And I watched it again, and it really did help. And that was part of why I was like, Ryan, you've never seen this, like you might enjoy it on some level, like even though it's like a very simple movie, it's very straightforward, like there's nothing.
well,
But it's
it's
also
weird
extremely
too because I'm always recommending you these other old movies from forever ago that I've seen.
yeah,
You're like, why have you seen so many old movies, but I haven't seen this classic?
I know, and I'm glad I made you watch it, because even though it's like a very simple movie, it's like an important piece of history.
It is, and also the end of this movie, like the plot is that this girl's falling in love with one of the other girls, and they
Yeah.
are sort of trying to escape together.
And they do. I mean, like, spoilers, but they abandon their families
Yeah,
because that's their only choice. And
yeah,
like that's a very romantic thing. It's also like a very scary thing.
it is.
And it's presented that way, I think. And I mean, like, this is a romantic comedy, but I mean, the end of the movie is essentially them being like, okay, we'll just never talk to our parents again.
Also,
And there's
for
a
you all
couple
know,
scenes where they kind of deal with that, like when she's in the safe house, like after she leaves, and she's like, I guess I can never go back home. Like that's like a
yeah.
scary moment for her, you know?
Well, but there was also like that good moment because she moved in with those other two gay dudes that were like, "Oh, we're gonna try and get you a job and like get you into school up into the city."
Yeah,
Uh,
like she has other new authority figures to look up to, but it's still like very scary to sort of look at your life and be like, well, I guess I have to cut off my own parents. Like that's, when you're a child, that's like incredibly scary to do. But
right.
that's what essentially this movie was saying. And like a lot of kids watched it, and I think probably related to it. Like I'm sure I wasn't the only kid watching this and being like,
Yeah.
wow, like if this was my situation, or like if this happened to somebody that I know or whatever, I guess I would, that's what it would be like. I would have to help them. Like, you know what I mean? Like that
Right.
was, it's like fucking real shit.
I mean, it really was, and it wasn't even just about that too, because even though there was all the stuff with being gay, there was other issues going on there, like the gender stereotyping, where they're like, you're a woman, so you have to cook and clean because this is
Yeah.
what like the Bible tells you to do. So, and you're not allowed to say anything. And the men, you have to be big and strong, and like, you know, like you have to construct everything, you have to build everything, you have to be the man, like it,
Yeah.
because your woman's gonna cook for you at the end of the day. Which is like, I know they were making fun of it, but it was still very much like, holy fuck, these are like still some legitimate concerns with like certain communities. Like it's sort of
Yeah.
terrifying to think about. And there
And
was
it's
also
like a
there was that
form
girl
of-
there who wasn't even gay, but they
Yeah, I
sent her
love
there.
that storyline. Okay, so
Where-
there's a girl at the camp who just presents very butch, and
Yeah.
she ends up in the camp because her parents, I guess, are like, "Oh, we have a daughter who's very butch. Like, she must be gay."
She has to
And
be.
the reveal is that she's like, "I am not gay. I just like dressing this way."
Right. She's
And
like, I'm
this is just
comfortable.
what I look like and how I want to look, and I don't want to conform to gender roles. Also, I'm interested in men. Like, what
Yeah.
the hell? And I was like, that was radical in the 90s, and unfortunately it's radical now. Like,
It
the
is,
idea
and,
of
like-
even having a different gender presentation at all, like defining any norms at all is still radical. Like, that's fucking fuck. I don't know.
No,
So
you're
anyway,
right. You're right.
I hope
And
people will watch
it's-
this movie because
I mean, like, there were
good.
just a lot of things. I didn't like that every gay man in this movie was like stereotypically gay,
Yeah,
like
they
completely, except for RuPaul was playing a straight man.
There's like the one they kind of screw this up a little by like oversimplifying it, and I will say that this movie does focus a lot more on the women characters than the guys,
Which doesn't happen all that often. You know what I mean?
And I think that's really cool, and I think there's more gender diversity for the women in terms of presentation because the movie's about a very feminine girl, a cheerleader, who presents very feminine and is okay with being feminine, but is also gay, and like that's what the movie's about.
Yeah.
And that's a radical thing still. So there's that, and the movie like definitely focuses on a plurality of female experiences, which is probably why I like it. But you're right, like the gay guys in this are all stereotypes, and there's like one example, like there's like an Asian guy who's like a jock, kind of, and he, at least at the beginning, they sort of are like he's a jock, but then they kind of forget about it later. And
Yeah.
also, and I was like, you guys tried, but like maybe you could have tried harder. But also it was written by a woman, so I think, you know, in the 90s maybe she just wasn't as familiar with like
Or it could have just been the way they ended casting, because you know from our experience when we cast something, whether it's for a show or like a movie or something film related, we do, once when people become those characters, they become very different from what we saw. Like even with Gino that happened. So like it could be something like that.
Also, RuPaul's in this movie, and
I know he's playing a converted straight. He's converted from gay to straight, and he's wearing a shirt that says "Straight is great."
And he has a beard, and he's not in drag for the entire movie. It's one of
the like the only time you'll ever see him do that,
where he isn't in drag, and he's great in it. I really loved his character. And I will say the director at the time really pushed for as much racial diversity as possible. There's still very little in the movie, but at the time it was very radical, and she like went out of her way to be like, I wrote this character to be an Asian character. I wrote this other character to be a Hispanic character. And obviously RuPaul's in it.
Yeah.
So like that was an intentional thing at the time, which is cool. So I don't know. The movie isn't perfect, but it's cool.
Interesting. And I definitely had that same vibe that like, if I was a teenager watching it, like those weird feelings I would have, but like, I don't know. It's like, it's telling of how things were and sort of how things still are sometimes. Things have changed, but I definitely like was like that whole thing about being thrown out of home, like, and all that, like that was like it's still a concern now, but it was like a serious concern because I said is like it was the only time you'd ever hear about anything related to the community. So
yeah, I don't want us to get back to that time as a culture.
I'm with you there, especially since we've had so much forward movement in the past like year or two.
I know, but I mean, you know, every time there's progress, there's backlash. So I guess I just think it's sometimes good to go back and look at historical things, and like this is 20 years old, so it is kind of a historical document of a different time in a way.
Yeah.
So I think it's worth going back and watching it, honestly. So yeah, that's it, I guess.
That's the end. We recommend it, but let's do some reader mail. And I actually have it open so I can still read. But
okay.
The main reader mail question I asked today was like, what was your favorite anime as a teenager versus now? And we always answer first. When I was a teenager, I first got into anime because Pokemon existed and I wanted to see more stuff like that. And when I was that age, I really enjoyed stuff like Slayers was probably my favorite at the time. Cowboy Bebop, Outlaw Star, classics like that. Slayers was a big one for me.
Yeah, I mean, you probably weren't watching Cowboy Bebop as a kid. That was
no, and I also watched. I watched Perfect Blue, the movie, a bunch, and there was like a Sonic the Hedgehog like movie that I had that was an anime that I still love now, but it's ridiculous. And I guess like now, like as an adult, the animes that I really like, and I'm trying to find new ones because I'm trying to sort of get back into it again. But I really have taken a liking to Ghost in the Shell as an adult. I really love that series. And I also really enjoyed what's it called? I'm blanking now. The one where with the dude that the video, everybody gets trapped in the video game.
Sword Art Online.
Yes. I actually
Okay.
enjoyed the first season of that. I thought it was very good. The second season, not so much. But
Yeah, that's what I hear about that show.
so
but it starts out great, or at least that's what everybody says.
But it took me until I was an adult to really understand Ghost in the Shell because it's just very complicated. So that's my differences. But mostly the reason why I pitch this is because I want people to recommend stuff to me to watch. So I don't because like there's a million things like on Hulu and Netflix, and I'm like, all right, how much of this is like terrible? So you guys can tell me, and I'm going to see if your old taste matches with some like my old taste, and that your recommendations would probably be good for me. So that's where this came from, and also Ghost in the Shell. What about you though?
Well, the first anime I saw as a kid was Sailor Moon, which is still really great. And then obviously I watched Pokemon later and Cowboy Bebop, blah blah blah. Nowadays, I'm still slowly making my way through Yaomuchi Pedal, which is the bicycle anime, is what everybody calls it. So you can just Google the bicycle anime and you'll find it. It's really corny, but it's cute and it's like really feel good. It's one of those anime that's about just a bunch of boys being friends with each other. Like there's so many anime that have that plot.
There's also yaois about that too.
Yeah, but it doesn't get to that point. It's a high school thing. I remember I used to like the Haruhi Suzumiya anime a lot.
I never actually saw that, but everyone said that was great.
I really like it. There's some cool stuff that happens in it. Everybody's obsessed with Yuri on Ice right now. I tried the first episode. It's okay. I haven't gotten to the episodes.
I heard people like Magica Modica.
Oh yeah, it's the other way around. Madoka Magica.
Yeah,
I like
yeah,
that
okay.
one too. And what was the other one I was gonna suggest? Oh, One Punch Man. Have you heard about that?
No.
That show's good. It's
on
Hulu. It's like an action show. And I know that sometimes you get annoyed at anime that's like just comedy all the time. So you might like One Punch Man.
I don't think that was really the situation so much as I was running a convention for a very long time.
Yeah, and Ryan got into a place mentally where he was like, I hate anime. I
just hated everything geek for a little while, which is not me, but like I definitely was like overexposed, if that makes any sense.
And you were like, it's all bad, and it was really funny to me because I was like, Ryan's gonna get over this, but he's so mad.
Oh shit, somebody mentioned two things that I really loved. Somebody in the chat, Ian, says they really liked Serial Experiments Lane, which is on Hulu now, and I really want to rewatch it because that is great. And they also brought up Bubblegum Crisis, and I loved that also. Holy shit, thank you for reminding me about both of those things. That was like huge in my life back then.
All right, so
somebody also said they got into Digimon from a friend that recommended them to watch it because of Pokemon, and it was like, this can't be as good as Pokemon, and I guess they were proven wrong. So I never got into Digimon. I watched some of it, but like I think at that point I was on the Pokemon train for too long. So all right,
so let's do the reader mails.
We have one from Kermix that says, I'm 42, so I don't feel like I'm necessarily the target audience for this question. I didn't grow up with anime, and I'm pretty estranged from it in general, but I have watched a handful and never been disappointed with what people have recommended me. I was introduced to it by Bebop and Adult Swim. I think a lot of people were, along with a lot of people that time, I imagine, but all of my all-time favorites now is the first season of Sayonara Zetsuboa Sensei. I can't read these fucking Japanese words.
Yeah, I think you did fine.
And that's what he wrote in. I don't even know what that is.
Yeah,
I'm gonna look that up.
That's what you were promised, man. You wanted Anime Rex, and now you got Anime Rex.
Well, that's true.
All right, keep going because I have to go.
We have another one from Madeline Mad. She's actually a really, really, really old friend of mine from LiveJournal. She wrote in, my favorite anime from my youth was Dragon Ball Z. I was obsessed with it in 7th grade. That love carried over into my high school years until I discovered One Piece, and that has since been my all-time favorite anime, even to date. A lot of people really like that. I don't devour nearly as much anime as I used to, but since grad school and full-time employment, it's been kind of on the back burner, with the exception of watching Samurai Flamenco, which is really good. I've heard that too.
Yeah, I like that.
And then I guess she was talking about how Dragon Ball has continued on into Dragon Ball Super. So I guess that's where Dragon Ball Z went. I don't know.
I haven't seen any of that.
You were more into Dragon Ball than I ever was. So
is in college, late college, where I watched all of Dragon Ball. I
that's
don't know
true.
what was wrong with me. I had too much time on my hands, guys. I don't know.
I remember you like going through all that, and I was like, I can't. You and Katie were both watching it together, and then Katie got into Yu Hakusho, so that was a whole thing. And then Taylor writes in, my anime situation as a teen was weird. I only watched it when I was at someone else's house because we didn't have cable by then. Depending on how pedantic, I can't read right now. Sorry.
Pedantic.
I know. You are. I know what the word is, but I just can't read. It's been a long morning. My favorite was either Samurai Jack or Digimon. And my favorite anime right now is Yuri on Ice because the figure skating boys are sweet and love each other very much. If we're talking live action adaptations, Liar Game is a goofy and incredible. So that's cool. I like how Yuri on Ice came up again.
Well, because it's like coming out right now. It's on like episode 7 or something.
Oh,
it's very popular.
Okay. And then we have one more from Nate. And it says, I know you asked specifically about our favorite anime from when we were teenagers, but honestly, I didn't really watch much anime until my college years. When I was a teenager, my exposure was limited to Dragon Ball Z and Gundam Wing. I think that was the case for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. In college, though, I was introduced to a lot of anime. My favorite show, which I occasionally rewatch, was Trigun.
I liked Trigun.
I did, but then I ended up reading the manga and liking it so much more than the anime itself that I was like, I'm never watching Trigun again. The manga is so much better. It's one of those situations where they like started like the first 6 episodes are the same and then like becomes a completely different thing. Mm-hmm. Let's see. I don't know if I'm okay. So he also enjoys the Miyazaki films that were being imported to the U.S. at the time: Spirited Away, Princess Mononoke, Kiki's Delivery Service.
Yep.
And he remembers enjoying Full Metal Alchemist and Naruto at the time, but has not revisited them in years and has no idea if he would still like them.
I think
anyway. Thanks for the show. Shame on you for starting late.
It was not our fault this time.
We were actually ready to go at like 9, and then Google Hangouts refused to work for 35 minutes.
It was really stressful for us.
It was. And because of that, we're not going to do food today either. So sorry, guys. No workout tips or recipes today, but we got to talk about topics you probably do care about. So,
all right. That's it for us, I guess. So, obviously you can subscribe to this channel. You can follow Atomic Blue Productions on Twitter, YouTube, Tumblr, Instagram, all that good stuff.
All the fun stuff. That's our main channel. Subscribe over there. I'm also going through right now and I'm adding into like all the profiles. Like I did it on Twitter today that says, this is the channel for Maddy and Ryan, tagged us in it. So you know, when you go in there, you know that it's our stuff because I didn't have that listed for some reason.
Listen, we are not that organized. I don't know if that's obvious.
No, it's more like we do too many things. And we also just released on Atomic Blue Productions, us rereading that story that Maddy wrote when she was 12 about characters in bathing suits awkwardly flirting with each other. It's very funny and embarrassing for Maddy.
It is. So go check us out, laughing our heads off reading that at the Atomic Blue YouTube page. Which
you want to see how writers start writing when they're 12?
What is our YouTube? Is it Atomic Blue Production without an S?
It's no, like I think it is. Like I think if you just type in Atomic Blue Productions, it will come up. It doesn't matter. So, and also you can email us at insomniacsinthemorning@gmail.com when we do read your emails on the show. And you can download the podcast version of this, which is on iTunes and also at atomicblueproductions.com.
Yeah, that's
and you can follow us on Twitter.
Oh, yeah.
At Mitty Myers and Ryan Pagella. It's across the board, too.
We did it.
We did it.
We actually got to do the show today.
Yeah, Maddy was like, we should just cancel it. I was like, no, we need to do it.
For like 30 minutes, I was like, Ryan, I don't think this is happening. And Ryan was like, it's happening.
I mean, to be fair, we just did the whole show in 45 minutes, which has never happened before.
Well, we cut 2 segments.
That's true.
Okay, bye.
Goodbye. Thank you for watching, everyone.